Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about my thoughts on Scream 3. So I'm just going to kind of go over all of my likes and dislikes or like little nitpicks about this one. I know that this one is usually one of the bottom movies for people in their franchise rankings, but I do still really have a lot of love for this one, so it's not going to be excessively negative. I feel like I was actually a lot more negative toward Scream 2 than I thought that I would be when I did my video on that. But I guess I'm just going to kind of gather my thoughts on this one as I go. So I am going to start with the opening scene on this one, but it's not really going to be quite as linear as the videos that I've done for the first two. I'm just kind of going to jump around because I don't necessarily think that there are a lot of really good standout scenes in this one, unfortunately. But I do want to talk about the opening scene first. So I really do like the opening in this one. My only issue with it is that I wish it wasn't Cotton. I think that he was a little bit underutilized in the second film. I would have liked to have seen him maybe be in a couple more scenes in that one, in like the earlier part of the film. But he is very underutilized in Scream 3, unfortunately. I think that he is just awesome in this, and I love Liev Schreiber as an actor. So honestly, I would have liked to have seen him be one of the more important characters in the Scream franchise that kept coming back in the different movies. But I mean, obviously, it'd be a little bit awkward with the fact that he had had an affair with Sid's mom, but I still would have liked to have seen him be in this franchise more than he got to be. But I do think that it is a very scary opening scene. I think there's a lot of tension there with the fact that obviously he knows that his girlfriend is in peril and stuff, so he's got to try to get back to her. And we get something that's similar to that in Scream 5 as well. And we'll get to that when we get to that movie. But I do think that it is well done. I also want to address the voice changer that they use in this film, since it does play a role in this opening scene as well. I like it. I know that some people kind of think that it might be a little too technologically advanced for this time, but honestly, I just feel like across the board in this franchise, Ghostface seems to be a little bit more ahead when it goes to like technology and stuff. So I don't hate the use of that in here. I think that it's obviously a little bit scarier having the voices of people that we actually know in that voice changer and stuff. So I like the use of it. So I want to talk about Stab in this movie. I think that we don't get as good of writing in this one with it not being Kevin Williamson, so we don't get as much of the meta angle, but we do get a lot of that just from Stab 3 and like it being based in Hollywood and just on the set of that film for a lot of the movie. Um, I really do like all that stuff. I can't say that I love the Stab 3 cast, though. I think that for the most part, they're pretty forgettable. I do like Tyson, but he is very underutilized in the film. And the other one that's obviously the standout of the entire Stab 3 cast would be Jennifer, and we'll get to that a little bit more here in a second. But um, I think that I really wished that, Randy could have been part of this one with the whole Hollywood angle. I just think it was a missed opportunity, to have killed him off as quickly as they did. That's not, any issue with Scream 3 because they did that in the second one, obviously. But I'm glad that they did bring him back to an extent in his little video that he had. It's very on brand for him to have recorded something like that if he thought that he wasn't going to make it through the events of Scream 2. And I really feel like getting to find out the trilogy rules is a really important part in this one. It just feels kind of important, with trilogies being so rare and stuff. So I really do like that part of it. And I like getting to meet Randy's sister as well. I think that's kind of cool. But now we can go ahead and talk about Gail and the biggest problem that I have with Scream 3, and it is simply her bangs. They are atrocious. They really, truly are. And it's just something that I can't stop looking at when I watch the movie, that's for sure. I know a lot of people will talk crap about Josh Hartnett's hair in Halloween H2O and The Faculty as well. since they were like filming around the same time. But in no way is Josh's hair in either of those as bad as Courtney's bangs in this one. Um, but I really do love Gail in this one. I like getting to see her, on her A game again and trying to solve these murders and stuff. I like getting to see her meet up with Dewey again. I like getting to see her be kind of jealous of Jennifer and like where she is at with Dewey at that point. I think that it is just funny to see that. And I just love the dynamic that her and Jennifer end up having together when they do their investigation and stuff. I think that also it's really funny where they get to meet the one that looks like Carrie Fisher, that obviously is her. I think that's a fun little part in the movie. And then I also just have to say I like the Jay and Silent Bob cameo in there, since Wes was also part of one of their movies. I just like that you have that overlap whenever you watch either of those films. I think that's pretty cool. And I just like the way that Jay and Silent Bob were used in this one. It's just really funny. But I think that Sydney, I miss her in this one. She's obviously not in it nearly as much because she had other stuff going on at the time. But I like getting to see where she's at in this movie. I think it makes sense for her to be in a more isolated location. I'm the type of person that doesn't really like to be around a lot of people, but at the same time, I would never want to live in the country because I just think about the fact that if you did get attacked by someone, if you're living in the city, you could walk a few feet and you'd be at your neighbor's house already, but you would have to run for a long distance potentially when you're living in the country if someone is after you or something, and that just scares me so much more. But for her, it might be a little bit different, and she likes that isolation. So I get that, and I really love seeing that she is doing the women's crisis counseling thing for her career at that point. It just, shows again how good of a person that she is. And, she doesn't really use the stuff that she has gone through and let it hinder her at all. She wants to use it to try to help others. And we get to see more of that in Scream 4, and we'll get to that in the next video. But I love seeing that. It just is a testament to her character for sure when we see that in Scream 3. So I want to talk about the detectives in this one a little bit. So I really like Mark a lot, and I wish that he would have gotten to actually come back and play Sydney's husband. I love Patrick Dempsey, so that would have been really cool to see him again in this franchise. But obviously it didn't pan out that way, so it's okay. But I really like him, and I think that he's just a good character. I like that he, will make some movie references in there too, since we are kind of missing, Randy after him being killed off in Scream 2. It's kind of nice to have a little taste of that with him. And then I love his partner. I don't remember that guy's name at all, but I think that he is just really dry and sarcastic, but super funny. I really appreciate his sense of humor in the movie. And now I kind of want to talk about Maureen a little bit. So I don't mind the ghost mom stuff. I know some people do. I will just say that I've never necessarily believed that she could be Sydney's mom, because she just kind of is a little bit creepy to an extent. Like, Nev is obviously a goddess, and it just doesn't seem like that could have been her mom. But I kind of like the ghost mom part of this. I think it's not too bad. It is kind of creepy, and just the inclusion of like her voice in the phone calls and stuff, and getting to hear her voice when Sydney is in, fake Woodsboro. That is really creepy as well. I just have to say, I really love that Woodsboro set. I think that that part is really well done, where Sydney is running from Ghostface in there. I think it is really creepy for her to see, especially like her mom's murder scene part. That's pretty messed up. But I like getting to see her just going through what was her house and stuff, and she's opening doors expecting it to look like her home did, but it's almost like trick doors because she's opening it and they lead to nowhere because you would only really have to build the parts that you would see on the screen when you're filming the movie and stuff. But all of that I think is really well done. Um, and I do like the inclusion of her mom in there. And I like how the killer is leaving pictures of her at all the different murders and stuff. I think that that's cool because it really is how real life serial killers have toyed with the police in the past and stuff. So I appreciate that part of this one. And I think that all of the stuff with Milton, it's unfortunately very relevant for today when it comes to like the Me Too movement. Hearing all the stuff that Maureen went through with Milton and, you know, his group of friends and stuff, it feels exactly like all of that stuff that we were hearing at that time. So this one just kind of feels like it was ahead of the game by quite a few years. But I'm sure that that's something that, you know, people in Hollywood were talking about even back then. It just didn't become such huge public knowledge until the Me Too movement started and stuff. But I do think that that just kind of um, ups the game of Scream 3 a little bit. It just feels so much more relevant now than it did even back then. But I do want to talk about some of the kills. I don't think that the kills are overly good in this movie, unfortunately. I'm pretty sure I heard that they kind of had to tone them down a little bit for this one, so that's probably why they're just not as standout as some of the ones that we've gotten in the other films. But I think that Sarah Darling's kill is pretty decent. Not necessarily the kill part itself, but the chase scene, I guess. I really liked that she was, you know, trying to find something to use to defend herself, but all she could use was like prop knives and stuff like that, which aren't going to do her any good. I just thought that was kind of funny with it being, you know, on a movie set and stuff. But I think that the scene where Jennifer's house blows up is very like fantastical and over the top and stuff, but it's kind of interesting. Um, I think that overall, though, the kills are just not very good in this one. I do really love that you know, they're all being done by the same person this time, so that's, you know, giving props to Roman for sure. But that's really the only other thing I mainly want to talk about with this one is just the reveal of Roman, which I really do like to a certain extent. The only problem that I do have with it is that he and Sydney did not have any scenes together prior to that one. And I don't think that he needed to reveal who he really was to her in a scene earlier than that, but I do think that he should have met Sydney at some point, and you know, she would just know him as Roman, the guy that is the director for Stab 3. And that would have been fine. And then, you know, when he takes off the mask, it wouldn't be like, who is this man? Because she obviously had not met him at all. So that is a little bit of a problem there. But I think that overall, that scene is very well done between the two of them. I think Scott Foley does a great job in that role. He is, you know, good and he's even kind of funny throughout the film. And then we get to that, and I think that he does a good job in it as well. There's a lot of feeling in that one, you know, with his motivation behind why he is doing what he's doing. I don't agree with, you know, what he did or anything like that, but there is a lot more behind his, I think, than most any of the other killers. But I do think that I don't know how to even broach this, but I feel for Roman with the fact that he tried to reach out to Maureen and was just, you know, having the door slammed in his face and stuff. I can't imagine, you know, what she had gone through, but at the same time, I don't think that if I had gone through that, I would slam the door in my kid's face if they would track me down and they would want to know me and stuff, because at no point was any of that his fault, what happened. So I do feel bad that it ended up that way for Roman and stuff. However, that doesn't give him the right to do what he did. And I also think that if he was aware that she had a family beyond just him, that if I was him, I would want to meet, any siblings that I had. And then if Sydney was similar to that and just, shut the door in his face as well, then, sure, go on your spree if you want. But at first, I would want to, exhaust all other options, I guess, first, if it was me. But I do think that it was a really good final confrontation between the two of them. It's like an all-out brawl, honestly, and there's a lot more weight to it with the fact that they are siblings, and how they're kind of holding hands toward the end of it as well, when he had been stabbed and stuff, and he's supposed to die, obviously, but he doesn't fully until he gets shot at the end. But there's just a lot of weight to that part, and it feels a lot more heavy. I like the ending of that one for sure. And I liked that she got to have a happy ending. It seemed that way in the end anyway. But obviously we get Scream 4 later, but I did like that it was kind of a real conclusion at the end of this one, and I liked where she was at. It seemed like she was going to get to be with Mark and be happy, and we had Gail and Dewey together, and they were, going to get married at the end of the film and stuff. So I really did like all of that aspect, but obviously the franchise went on, and it wasn't just a trilogy anymore. So it's harder to discuss that stuff now since there is more to it. But I want to know your thoughts on Scream 3 down in the comments. Is this one the one that you feel is definitely bottom of the barrel for you, or is it one that you think is very much underrated? I want to know all of that, so leave me your comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like on it. Consider subscribing if you haven't yet for more horror content. I do post 2 new videos each week. You can follow me on Instagram for updates on my channel, as well as additional horror content. You can also follow me on Letterboxd to see what I have been talking about and watching recently, and any of my brief thoughts on those. And if you want those, they are linked in my channel description for easy access for you guys. I want to say thank you to everyone who has been supporting my channel so far. It doesn't go unnoticed. My name is Devin. This is Carpenter Hill. Thanks for watching.